What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Turford, and we are back for another Zelda Wednesday. This is part 2 of our playthrough of the Legend of Zelda. Basically, this will be a sort of middle-of-the-road episode. Normally, we could probably finish in the next playthrough, in one playthrough, but I mentioned this on the last Let's Play. I haven't actually beaten the Legend of Zelda. In fact, we're in uncharted territory at this point, because I actually haven't gotten any further than this before in me playing The Legend of Zelda, mainly because a lot of times I would refuse to play it without a guide and other things, and I'm still doing that here as far as where we should go, but at the same time I feel like I'm having a lot of fun playing it. It's just a matter of me sort of getting into the groove of things anyways. So we're going to play here. So in case you missed last week's episode, we basically left off after Dungeon 4. So we're actually just going to basically gather a couple of things, because we do need to get the remaining heart pieces that are in the world. There are 3 left. And then we are going to go get the magical sword, and then we will go proceed to Dungeon 5. That's sort of our road map at this point. Along the way, we're going to try and get as many sort of rupees as we can anyways, and sort of go from there. Again, I apologize for the late start today. Unfortunately, my schedule has been kind of all over the place this week, so I actually had to put up this Let's Play a little bit later than I anticipated, so I apologize for that. But that being the case, I just wanted to make sure I was here with you, even if we don't even do like a full playthrough today. It's important to me that we do these Let's Plays, especially because I actually really like this game, despite the fact that I've never actually finished it. I actually love the idea of playing this game. Plus, I love the idea of actually being able to finally cross this game off of my backlog as far as classic games that I've never actually beaten. So here we got some more of these guys. They're pretty easy to take out since we have the white sword from last time. Again, we're sort of doing just fine here. I believe, though, there's actually a heart piece either here or in another area that we missed before. Oh, there we go. So basically, along this coastline, there's going to be a couple heart pieces that we just didn't grab the last time. And the main reason why we're grabbing them, not just because I feel like we'll need the heart pieces later, but in order to unlock the magic sword, which is what it's called in this game, not the master sword, you actually need to get all of the optional heart pieces in the world. And we have all the items and tools we need to actually get all of them after Dungeon 4, because we need the raft and the ladder, which are both items that we got in Dungeons 3 and 4, so we're actually going to put those items to good use today. And then we can just be like way overpowered. We'll also get the power bracelet as well. Although we're not going to really use the power bracelet too much, at least not until the later dungeons anyways. And even then, we don't even really use it too much. Of course, this door right here is a bit of a pain in the ass. Alright, so there's our next heart piece, and now there's only one left. That'll give us 12 in total. That's how you know you're good to go for going for the last item. We'll just switch to the boomerang, because I didn't realize I had bombs equipped. So we took this raft up here to this spooky-looking place, which kind of looks like a temple, but in fact is actually a place where the last heart piece is in the world. So now we've collected all the heart pieces, other than the ones in the dungeon, which are the 4 remaining heart pieces that we're going to get in the game. But we're not going to go do those yet. Of course, if you press slightly to the left on the controller, it's going to make you go up. As I mentioned last time, I am playing using the Wii U gamepad. If that makes you guys feel any better as to why I might not be as great at this game. Unfortunately, I don't have the NES copy, and I tried playing with both the Wii U Pro controller and as well Wiimote, both of which are this has the best D-pad of the 3, and that says a lot. I mean, and mind you, the Wiimote that I have is actually a third-party one and not actually a Nintendo one, so maybe even a Nintendo first-party Wiimote might even be a better choice. So basically, we're gonna, in order to get the magic sword, we're actually gonna go to an area that we haven't been to yet, which is the graveyard. You can access it from a couple of different ways. We can access it through the bottom near where we started, or we can actually use a little bit of a shortcut since we have the ladder. Once we get through this deserty area. Okay, so we're gonna go up here. These propeller things we still can't kill at this point. Unfortunately, we can walk right into them like an idiot, or we can hope they don't hit us. But for the most part, we can't really interact with them in any way. Okay, so if we go down here and go along the coastline here, it should sort of bring us to where we're going, although I could be thinking of somewhere else. Aha, so I believe this is where we're going. There we go. So, actually, if we go back here, I believe this is actually where we get the power bracelet. It's off one of these stone guys, and I think it's either this one or this one? I'm gonna just keep knocking these guys out until I find it. There we go. So now we have the power bracelet. What the power bracelet actually does is allows us to move boulders like those boulders over there, that area is perfectly set up for us to use it. And now you can see we're entering the graveyard area. Again, this is where we're going to find the Master Sword, and as well there's a dungeon. Dungeon 6 is in this area as well, which we'll go to after Dungeon 5. So I'm going to sort of show you guys what's in here. Again, we don't really... I believe this just allows us to use the secret passageway network. Again, we're not going to do that because we're actually where we want to be at this point. And I actually haven't gone down those roads, so maybe we'll try that as soon as we get out of this area. Because we're going to basically go back to where we just were in order to go to Dungeon 5. And of course, I'm playing like crap at the moment. But these guys will be way easier in just a second because we are about to get the sword. Okay, so there we go. So master using it, and you can have this. So of course, what that's trying to indicate to us, without actually blatantly telling us, is that you actually need all the other heart pieces in order to get it. These ghosts, by the way, if you don't actually have the magical sword, you can't even damage them. You'll just walk into them and they'll hurt you, and bad things happen. Alright, so as I mentioned before, these guys will be a little bit easier. One-hit kills on the red ones. The blue ones, it's 2, which is pretty helpful to have. So we've upgraded our attack as powerful it's going to get. That's actually Dungeon 6. We'll come back there later. Again, this game is very, very, very open-ended in the sense that you really can tackle the dungeons in any order if you want to start with the last one. Mind you, you won't have certain items to get you properly through the dungeon, like the raft or the ladder or anything like that. So you will need to go get those at a later time. Ooh, so we end up down here. And this is the area which is actually right near where we start. And yes, in case you're wondering why I'm making sort of jilted movements going back and forth, that's me trying to move up and down properly while using the amazing D-pad on this controller. There we go, we got a fairy. We lucked out. Now, normally the dungeon that we're going to is in the top right-hand corner of the map, but the reason I'm actually going this way is because we are actually going to want to get a potion before going into the dungeon. The reason for the potions is because this will actually help us with the difficulty of this dungeon, since we will probably run out of life pretty quickly. Basically, the potion will allow us to get full health pretty quickly. And that's one of the reasons why we actually got the letter a little bit earlier, which, by the way, dumb item, but it is going to help us out a bit here. You really only use it to access this particular item shop for potions. Of course, we got annoying Zoras that are being really annoying. They're very, very different from the Zoras from Zora's Domain that we actually find in the later Zelda games. So we're going to show her the letter, and this will allow her to sell us potions. Alright, so we're going to buy the red one, and we're going to get going. The difference between the red and the blue one, I believe, is just that the red one has more uses than the blue one does. The blue one will fill all your hearts once, but then cannot be used again. So basically, we're going to go all the way over here. And then we're just going to go, like, due north until we get basically back to Death Mountain in order to go to Dungeon 5, which, while is not super difficult, has some pretty annoying enemies in it. The boss itself isn't too difficult once we get the particular item to beat him, but otherwise would be a super pain in the ass without it. So, for the most part, we're definitely going to go for it. We're going to go get ourselves a recorder. The recorder being the really dumb musical instrument that a lot of us had to learn in school in order to get it. For me, I didn't even know that kids here in Canada actually learn the recorder because I grew up sort of in between living in the States and Canada in a variety of different cities. And basically, when I lived in the States, we actually had an actual band that you sort of would get in high school, so you get your choice of like a bunch of different instruments. But when I was shocked when I came to Ontario and learned that in grade 7 that none of that actually happened. That you in fact learned the recorder, and everyone learned the recorder, and you played nothing else. It was really bad. So that's actually where we got the white sword, but let's go over to this area. Now, this area will actually repeat infinitely if you don't need the combination. The combination's pretty simple for this area. You just go up a bunch of different times until it tells you to stop going up with the amazing Zelda chime. And there we go. Of course, I just walked into that enemy twice because I wasn't paying attention. Alright, so here is Dungeon 5. It's very, very green. It's a very green dungeon. These enemies that we're about to fight here, these whisker enemies, are really, really annoying. We're fighting them basically to get a key, but otherwise, in later areas, you will probably see me try and avoid them. Unfortunately, they are unaffected by the boomerang, so we can't use it to stun them or anything like that. Basically, their weakness is the bow and arrow. Unfortunately, we have not bought arrows yet, which would actually take quite a bit more grinding on our end, which is why we actually just haven't gone for it yet. Plus, I think this dungeon's pretty beatable even if we don't have the bow and arrow, so I think we'll actually be okay either way. Worst case scenario, if we find that we're having trouble, we can always just go out and go buy the arrows. Dig Dogger hates certain kinds of sound. So this is sort of alluding to what I was just talking about, where basically the main enemy in this dungeon is basically does not like sounds from the recorder, which we're going to sort of play for him in order to beat the crap out of him. These mummy guys, if you don't actually have the magic sword, basically it takes 4 hits to defeat them, and they can be kind of tough, especially because they do a lot of damage. So that's the main reason why we just destroy them as quickly as possible with the magic sword, and why it's so important to go get it ahead of time. Of course, here we're going to fight multiple Dodongos. He was the boss in the second dungeon, who's allergic to bombs, essentially. I'm just going to unlock that door now, since we are fine to do this. So we're going to want to go to... we'll go this way first. This dungeon's pretty open as far as where we need to go, other than going to go get a specific item. Now these enemies, fun fact about them, if you actually still have the wind sword at this time, will actually only, when you slash them once, they'll actually split into 3 smaller enemies, and can be kind of annoying to deal with if you don't actually have it. So you always want to make sure to get your sword upgrades before coming to this point. As I mentioned though, if you really want to, you could do all the dungeons in reverse order if you wanted to, up to a certain point anyways. Okay, so there we go. So we've got the key. We're actually back at full health, which, as I've mentioned previously, in this game in particular, is a very, very good thing, because it allows us to shoot from a different distance. So once again, we got more of these ooze guys. Again, no trouble for us at all if we have the magic sword, which is proving to be very, 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 very useful. Once again, we got the mummies. One of them will drop bombs, and it did. As I mentioned in our last Let's Play, the maximum number of bombs is 8, so we're actually already at our max. If I remember correctly, I think we just bomb the walls here, rather than actually pushing anything. So we want to bomb this wall, but we also want to bomb this wall as well. Because that door at the top actually does not reopen, which is the reason why it gives you the bombs in the first place. So these blue knights, as mentioned with the orange knights, can be a pain in the ass. Luckily with the magic sword, it only takes 2 hits to kill them, as opposed to 4. Like, imagine trying to kill these guys with 4 hits, it would just be really annoying. And unfortunately with the D-pad on this controller the way it is, we don't really have a lot of flexibility when we're fighting them. Again, you could shortcut these guys if you want to use your bombs. We're sort of not at that point yet. We might get a little bit desperate later. And of course, this is the staircase that will actually bring us to where the recorder is. We have to kill all the enemies first before we can push it out of the way. Again, those knight guys I feel like I have a tough time with, but only because the controls are sort of letting us down anyways. I feel like they wouldn't be too difficult if we could curve around them like I wish we could. So I'm basically, since we have the keys to do so, I'm just going to open both these doors since we're going to have to anyways. We'll go this way first. Once again, we got more of these knights. But this will be sort of the last time we really have to fight them. There are actually, if I remember correctly, there are some red ones as well that we'll have to fight later. But they're sort of pushovers with this particular sword since they die in 1 hit, whereas these ones take 2. And with these guys, for the most part, you're just trying to anticipate their movements. Unfortunately, their movements are highly sporadic. It's very difficult to sort of discover when they're going to sort of turn, and you can't really boomerang them or anything. There's just another one of these pesky enemies that are sort of immune to the boomerang. So we're going to push this block out of the way, because now we're going to get ourselves the recorder, which basically every Zelda game has some kind of musical instrument that you use of some kind. In this case, it's the recorder, which again, a lot of people call the flute, because the flute is a way cooler instrument than a recorder is. I'm sorry, it just is. So now we're going to go down here. Again, there's just a key which will sort of help us out. Again, we normally would have gone to this room first if we were low on keys, but since we had the extra keys, we may as well have just gotten the other thing first. And as I mentioned as well, those bats don't really help us out because they don't drop power-ups at all. So a lot of times, if I can get through an area without killing bats, I'm just gonna run through it because there's no real reason to even fight them. So here we are sort of back at the beginning of the dungeon, and we're going to sort of go around back to the area where we were with the Dodongos in order to get to the boss. Now this boss can actually be a bit of a pain in the ass as far as if you don't hit him, like don't deal with him quickly, because as he starts to move, he moves very, 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 very quickly, and unfortunately the controls sort of fail you as far as your ability to sort of dodge around him or even follow him in any cohesive way. These Dodongos, again, no real reason for us to waste bombs on them since we've already gone through the door we would need to otherwise. And now we have attained the map, so we can tell where we're going now. Come on, Dodongo. Okay, there we go. Again, they're way easier to deal with than they were the first time we dealt with one, since we already have all the extra items and all the bombs we would ever really need against them. So we got more mummies. Now this wall looks very suspicious, but you can already tell actually that we're actually at the edge of the map, so for the most part, bombing that wall won't do us any good. So again, as I mentioned, we got the red versions of the knights. They're pretty easy to take out though, since honestly they take one hit. And then this area in particular is very easy to avoid them, since I'll just light it up so I can show you guys. It's pretty easy to dance around them when the area is like this, especially because we can use the ladder to our advantage just by doing that. Since they don't patrol those routes, so you can use it just to dance around them essentially. So this area can be a little bit hectic, so we'll actually light up this area in an area, of course, where a lot of enemies are walking through. Of course, the stupid bunny-eared guys are impervious to our candle, and basically to all of our items except for the sword or the arrows. So, for the most part, we're just going to take hits from them. That's just going to be a thing that happens. And again, the map actually tries to mislead you because it makes you think that that you can bomb the top parts of these rooms, but you actually can't, because they don't actually lead anywhere. So you would actually think you could use that as a shortcut to go to the place that we actually warped to, but in fact, you can't. Of course, this area is going to be pretty tough. Luckily, we can sort of do our best to keep our distance here, since they basically have to travel through these things in order to get to us. And that noise is actually coming from the boss's chambers and not from these guys. Come on, come to us. There we go. Alright, now we're about to fight the boss. I actually think it's a little bit unwise to fight the boss without healing ourselves a bit. So we're going to want to use that. Now, as you can tell, the potions become a blue potion. So basically, it'll only have one more use before we can use it again. But that's okay. We won't need to use it again in this dungeon. So here's the big boss. We use the recorder, and you hear the famous Zelda tune there. Now we're just going to hit... We just have to hit him twice. But he can be a bit of a pain in the ass, because if I didn't sort of jump right on top of him there and attack him pretty quickly, he actually would have been able to deal some serious damage to us and would have been flying all the way around the room, so he would have been really hard to hit. And don't ask me why I killed those guys, I usually just do. Alright, so if we go up here, the boss is already defeated, and we get the next piece of the Triforce! Yeah! There goes Dungeon 5 in The Legend of Zelda. Now I'm going to take a little sip of my drink. And again, I knew I was safe in the doorway there, since it can't really attack us. And these guard guys that we actually thought were actually difficult before, we can just kill in one hit. Okay, so the next thing we're going to sort of want to buy are the arrows. At this point, we could also go for the monster bait, which is basically that hunk of meat that you've seen sort of around before. But we're actually not going to go for that, since there is no real reason for us to get that just yet. We'll actually need it for Dungeon 7, but we're not at Dungeon 7 yet, so no real reason to worry about that. So you might actually see me just grind enemies for rupees, that any enemies that we can really find here before we go to the next dungeon, since we are going to want the arrows for that dungeon. Like, we would be fools to go in that dungeon without it. Fools, I say. And in fact, actually, we'll probably want to go towards getting maybe 150 rupees total, even before, like, or at least close to it before we go in there, because what we're actually going to want those for is there's actually a bomb upgrade that is only available inside the dungeon and only in there. So you actually want to get buy the upgrade while you're in there. I mean, we could always come back for it later if we found ourselves low on rupees and very, very, very bored of grinding for things. But we're not going to want to risk that if we don't have to. I mean, who wants to go back and enjoy dungeons again? I do feel like my confidence is a lot better on this game now that I've had a chance to play through it a bit more. Again, for the most part, with our first playthrough anyways, I was a little bit shaky. The original Legend of Zelda, as I mentioned, is probably the Zelda game I've played the least. So it's actually like very much like Mega Man 5 in that sense, where it's like the type of game I'm not super confident in. But I mean, I want to play it because it's a classic for sure, and I don't regret that at all. It's actually been a lot of fun. There we go, we got 69 fucking rupees. That's all we need, right? We don't need anything else. Oh, Jesus. Sorry, I had to go there. I mean, yes, it makes me look like I'm 5, but come on. Like, it was right there. Unfortunately, it looks like we've killed a lot of the enemies that are sort of respawning. Or at least it's keeping track of enemies we've really killed already. So, unfortunately, the grind is going to take a bit. That said, I think we should have almost enough to go get the arrows. So I'm going to start heading over to where the arrows are. The arrows themselves are sort of a risk-reward weapon in the sense that they do a ton of damage and are very, very, very useful. But their downside is that it actually requires... It costs rupees in order to use the arrows. So it's basically 1 rupee per arrow, which can add up pretty quickly if you aren't careful. So, if you recognized this area before, this is actually the area where we bought the blue ring earlier in the run anyways. So we're actually going to go back literally to the same vendor, and or not the same vendor, so we're going to go to the place that's right by it here to buy the arrows. They aren't really cheaper anywhere else. Just $80 is the flat rate for them, regardless of where we go. So now we've got the arrows, so now you can finally equip the bow and arrow if we so choose. Again, we'll probably use it pretty sparingly, just whenever we feel like we have to anyways. So I showed you one way to get into the graveyard, and now I'm going to show you the other way to get into the graveyard, which is to go through the Lost Woods. It was a huge pain in the ass to sort of figure out how the hell you get through here in order to get to where we were going, in order to get to the graveyard. So that's what we're going to do here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to basically go this way until we find an area very similar to the area we went to on Death Mountain, where it's an area that repeats. And we basically have to put in a specific code in order to get through the area here. Yes, we got that amazing slowdown. Alright, so here we are. So basically what we'll do is we'll kill the enemies here so we don't have to deal with them again. Because otherwise we'll have to deal with them every single time it repeats. So we're going to want to go up, and then left, and then down, and then left again. And then this should allow us to get to the graveyard. Boom! So now we got some more centaur guys. And this is just sort of the bottom area of where I showed you earlier with the graveyard. And this is where traditionally where you'd come in if you didn't have any of the items. Unfortunately for us, we have basically all the items in order to get through here. So, all right, so here we are at the graveyard once again. We're not going to worry about touching any of the graves, especially because the graves can be a pain in the ass if you let the enemy stockpile. So we'll basically go through here, very similar to before. And remember how I showed you this entrance before? We just went up there by mistake. Well, we're going to go up here for reals this time. Once again, I've never actually beaten this dungeon, so this should be fun. So what I'll do is I'll just use this key over here. And I'm going to be learning along with you guys as well at home. I remember that these enemies are a huge pain in the ass, though. Unfortunately, we can't reflect their beams, and they do a ton of damage to Link. They're actually also a huge pain in the ass in Zelda 2. I think they're actually even worse in Zelda 2 than they are in this game, to be honest. And that says a lot, because, man, they're really, they're awful in Zelda 2. Holy shit. Zelda 2, by the way, my favorite Zelda game, actually. I love Zelda 2, despite the fact that I am probably the only person crazy enough that you know who will ever say that. So we got a bunch of bats here. Of course, we have to kill the bats, something that I'm not a huge fan of, but they're pretty easy to kill with the boomerang. It's just these lasers are kind of annoying, and we don't really get any item pickups off the bats, so I don't usually like to kill them. But that one, it actually gives us a key, which is actually useful. We gotta watch out for traps here, and trap there, and trap up top. Alright, so we got more of these motherfuckers. The blue ones are actually even more of a pain, because they take more hits and deal even more damage, and they're a lot less predictable. Again, that glowing orb, we can actually just let it hit us at certain points, since it actually doesn't deal any damage to us. And then these, whatever the fuck those things aren't really dangerous either. They don't actually... like, they'll hop onto us, but they don't do a lot of damage. They're more to just keep us in place and try and get us hit by other enemies. Fucking wizards. God, these guys do so much damage. Later, when we get the red ring, they are a lot easier to take out. Alright, so we got this returning boss from Dungeon 3. Now a lot easier now that we have the sword to take him out. Of course, I'm doing a very bad job of showing what to do there. Of course, if we need the health, we do have the extra potion handy if we need it. And then worst case scenario, I'm not afraid to hop out of this dungeon and go and buy a potion if we need it. Of course, I don't know where any of the special passages are, so if I use bombs in really dumb places, that's why. Alright, so we got the map, so I finally know where the fuck we're going. Alright, so let's just go down here. I wonder what's down here. Because I know there's... I believe it's the magic wand that's in this dungeon that we have to get. So that's sort of what we're going to try and go and find where the fuck that actually is. Since I have no idea where to find it. Oh, Jesus. I wasn't expecting that to kill us. Oh, well. Alright, so it looks like we're going to start over. This time we're actually going to go this way, because it looks like there are two rooms we didn't really explore, and I'm kind of curious as to what's in here. Of course, there are more dumbass wizard guys. Of course, unaffected by our candle. Oh my god! Seriously? I hopped onto that heart, but I guess it was too late. Alright, we're going to do that one more time. Man, if you wanted to see someone die in Zelda Dungeons because they've never played this fucking game before, you're in luck. You're in the right place. Again, me actually just equipping the boomerang is essentially a force of habit at this point. Just because it's so useful against a lot of different enemies, just not useful against these guys. Aim at the eyes of Goma. Okay, I'll remember that. I'm assuming Goma's the boss in this level. Well, it's a good thing we didn't go there the first time and sort of waste a key on that. I mean, it's good if you don't know how to beat the boss, like us, but... Or I guess they all disappeared. Okay, that works. These guys will probably be good to farm hearts from. Though we can't force them to respawn over and over again, unfortunately. Of course, we gotta kill these dumbass bats again. Right. There we go. Whew, that was close. Alright, so once again, we're here. All the enemies are dead. Although we could have used some of them to sort of farm hearts from if needed. Ah, motherfucker. Alright. I'm going to give this one more shot, and then maybe on this attempt, if we're close, or if we're running down, I'll use our last potion and see if we can get a little bit farther that way. And then that way we can sort of conserve that. And then worst case scenario, we can just leave if we need more hearts after that point. So I guess since we've done this room before, it registers we've killed them. So they just dissipate on their own after you kill, like after they appear once or something? I don't know, that's weird. Once again, dumbass bats. God damn. I'm not having any good luck against these fucking things. Alright. There we go. Thank God. Thank God. Oh, whew. Alright, so once again, we won't have to fight this dude again. And you'll probably see me react pretty quickly when I realize I have to go for the potion. There we go. We got an extra heart. So we got a little bit more buffer room. And we're actually at the amount of hearts that we started at, which is pretty good. Oh my God. Oh, these are the dudes that split into bats. The boomerang is very, very useful on these guys, since the bats themselves are annoying. Gotta get this. Those guys don't split, which is actually pretty awesome because the one thing that, if you remember correctly about the dungeon that they appear in, that makes them a bit of a pain to deal with. Oh, motherfucker. Okay, we're gonna do this for real this time. So, if we need the potion, we'll use it. So those gargoyle guys, the reason they're a pain in the ass in the other dungeon is because when they split, they don't drop any items, and when you don't get any items, you don't get any hearts or bombs or anything else that you probably will need to complete the dungeon. So that makes that dungeon a little bit tougher, since they're really, for the most part, like the only enemies in the whole dungeon, other than like maybe 1 or 2 rooms of slimes. God, you guys are like, why? I've seen him fight bats so many times. Why is he having so much trouble with them? Once again, we're just getting all the traps to activate themselves so we can get our best window there. I feel like I'm on the right track, though, because if we go down there, we're going to have to deal with the stupid wizards again. Alright, I'm going to use the potion now. Because, like I said, we can just go out and buy another potion if we need to. And no, we're not going to equip the letter. that one's just going to be a total bitch and just keep shooting at us. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, we really can't do anything about that magic, which totally blows. I still think we should go this way, so that's why I'm going to continue to do this. Alright, so we're going to go down here again. Wonder why there was only the one that respawned. Jesus. God, these fucking wizards are so random. Okay, so we're gonna go out and we're gonna grind some more for some potions and whatnot. So I apologize for this. Worst case scenario, if I found that we're gonna keep having trouble, we'll just sort of stop and reconfig for next week. That being said, I'm still having a blast. Of course, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. It's probably not very often you actually get to see a Let's Play on YouTube of a dude who's as old as I am even, or just anyone who's really never actually played The Legend of Zelda. As I sort of mentioned before, I didn't really have this game as a kid. I had a ton of other NES games, but actually, the Zelda series wasn't a series really that I sort of got into until playing Link to... Ocarina of Time actually was my first Zelda game, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I had a ton of NES games, but none of them were actually Zelda games, which is just kind of nuts when you think about it. Especially because, like, Zelda's a series that I actually really, really, really like. But unfortunately, it's just not something I really grew up with. Not in the same way as, like, Mario or Metroid or games like licensed games like the Turtles arcade game or things like Blades of Steel or Streets of Rage or other things, because I was more after the NES I was really more of a Sega kid anyways. Despite the fact that I had both consoles, I probably played a lot more Sega than I did Nintendo. Mind you, I had the cool thing known as the Sega CD that is one of everyone's favorite peripherals, of course, the Sega CD. You got to play some hot FMV games like Sewer Shark and Tomcat Alley and Bram Stoker's Dracula. By the way, most of those not great games. Fucking FMV games, man. I love the fact too that FMV games are actually coming back into style. Like we're getting things like Roundabout and Her Story and Sebel and a bunch of other great games. Actually, like 2 of those games are actually some of my favorite games that came out last year were FMV games, which is kind of crazy because it's 2015. Of course, Zelda famously had FMV games, although they weren't really, they were animated FMVs as opposed to live-action full-motion video, which are the CDI Zelda games, which not very good. They're very infamously bad, in the sense that basically Nintendo and Philips sort of partnered up for a CD-based console, except for the fact that Philips basically took all of Nintendo's IPs and decided to actually just make the system on their own with Nintendo's characters. So we had like a really shitty Mario game, like Mario's Hotel, and like 3 really, really bad Zelda games. Definitely the worst 3 games in the series by far. And mind you, everyone talks about maybe a game, like having a game where you play as Princess Zelda, and the only game that we actually have gotten so far where you play as Zelda as the main character. I'm not talking about Triforce Heroes where she's a playable character. I'm talking about her as a main character. The only one is still like Zelda the Wand of Gamelon, which is the CDI-based game, which is really, really, really awful. Out of all the games that you could star as Zelda in, of course, that would be the one that actually sticks, as opposed to anything else more creative by more creative people. Now, I like the fact that we're getting a ton of health. My second objective, of course, here is to like have us start in the dungeon itself with full health again. And if we have a red potion, then that'll basically give us 3 full health bars of health in order to defeat the dungeon. We will have to defeat sort of the big boss again, like the dragon dude. But for the most part, it'll give us a little bit of a leg up going in there again. Especially because when you're watching someone, you don't want to see them die over and over again. That's no fun. It's just more fun, though, the fact that to see my reaction, I guess. Since, like I said, very, 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 very new to this game. And we might as well just finish refilling. This is actually one element that, out of all the Zelda games, I've liked the least, which is the element of having to grind for rupees. They are a lot more readily available in other Zelda games, which just make them a little bit easier, but it's not just making it easier. I don't like the idea of having to just run around and basically grind for like 10-20 minutes basically to get enough rupees to actually buy what you need to get through the game. Is a little bit rough. Like I like the idea of in the later games where it basically there are more intelligent ways to give you the items that you need than having you run around the open world try and get rupees from only the enemy drops. And for the more like some of these screens we've gotten like 1 or even none. There, we got 2. Sweet. Let's see how many we need left. Alright, we need 8 more rupees. Again, we're going to definitely want the red potion, since we're having a bit of trouble killing some of these guys. Alright, there's 5. There's 6, so 2 more. There's 1, so we need 1 more. Come on, guys. I didn't even get jack shit from them. Hooray! Alright, so we're gonna go back. We're gonna buy ourselves a potion. We're gonna go back to that dungeon and we're gonna kick its ass, and then we're gonna sort of stop for the night. Bo-no-no-no. Alright, so once again, we'll just go through the Lost Woods entrance in order to get to the dungeon again. No real reason for us to go all the way back up. Alright, so the combination once again is up, left, down. I'll probably just finish these guys off. So down, and then left again. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And we can just totally just run all the way through the graveyard here. Alright, so let's run through this again. So we don't need to go to the right. That we've already gotten the information from there. So no real reason to go back there. God damn, these guys are dropping rupees like it's their job. Holy crap. Of course, we don't get anything from the bats, but that's okay. Gotta watch out for the traps. Again, we could just run through there, but I usually just don't like to risk it. Especially since we can just easily pace ourselves. Alright, there we go. We killed the stupid burger-looking enemy, who, by the way, looks like a burger. Alright, so we don't have to deal with the dragon again. That actually makes our lives a little bit easier. Especially since we have a red potion. So we've got 3 bars of health. If we can't basically beat this next section that we've been going through this whole time with this much health, then there's a problem. Alright, one more left. Bam! Got him. Alright. So once again, we got these guys. We can actually burn them with the candle, so that's the main reason why I use it to get through here. Again, we could probably navigate through this area if we didn't have the candle, but... Alright, let's see what is actually in here. I'm pretty sure this will lead us to the item in this area. Once again, I'll just keep running into that guy because it doesn't even matter. Alright, secret passage, here we go. So like last dungeon, it brings us through a separate connecting tunnel. Let's see where we come out. So the boss is in the next room. Let's get our candle out. Now, once again, you would think you could bomb that wall there. I'm assuming that you actually can't, due to the fact that it leads to the edge of the map. Oh, and in case you guys are wondering why I throw my boomerang there, it actually will speed up the process of us being able to use our sword again. So we got a key. I'm going to try bombing it just for the hell of it, because it just looks too damn obvious. But no. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a way to welcome us into this room. Just fucking... Got a bunch of spikes and just fucking wizards just shooting all over the place. Alright, so since it's giving us a bomb here, that's basically the game's way of telling us basically there's a bombable passage somewhere here. So that's what we're going to explore for next. Nope, so it should be this one. Or no, okay, I guess not. So I guess, my guess is this is the way to the boss? Okay, so what we'll do, we'll actually go back the other way, because we really won't have to fight any of the enemies again that we fought already. Just to sort of see what happens, since I don't like I said, I don't really know this dungeon, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if this is actually what we're supposed to be doing or not. Plus, I know there's an item in this dungeon that we're actually supposed to get before we leave. And of course, the only gargoyles that actually come back are the ones that actually contain items. Alright, so we're gonna use our potion, our first one, just as a failsafe. God damn, those guys still do a ton of damage. Alright, so now what we'll do... I'll go up through the keyed door. Aha! There we go. So there's the magic wand. Again, now we can actually use the alternate passage to get to the boss, since I don't think that there's actually any items that we're actually missing before the boss. So let's just go find them. Again, I don't even know what the magic wand does, so let's equip it. I'm just curious as to what this even does. Oh, so fire is basically their shot back at them. But I'm assuming since it's blue, it'll have some sort of limited use, so we can probably only use it once per room. And I wonder if it's actually useful against these guys. And again, the gargoyles didn't come back, so we don't even have anything to test it on. Oh, so we can use it a bunch of times, actually. So I'm guessing then the fact that it's blue is probably more referencing the amount of damage it can do. Or even the types of enemies it can hit. But I'm guessing we're going to have to use it in some way against this boss. So, again, the advice that the old man gave us is shoot him in the eyes. So I'm guessing he's going to have two different eyes that we can shoot. Alright, so where the fuck do we hit this guy? Alright, so we're going to use our potion here. Maybe what we need to do is I can lure his eye out and then shoot it with the... Because the magic wand doesn't look like it's doing anything. Aha! The bow and arrow was the answer. Sweet! So there we go. Our last Triforce piece, and by last Triforce piece, I mean last Triforce piece of this particular Let's Play. So that's going to do it for The Legend of Zelda, at least this particular week. We got one more Let's Play left to go next week when we actually go fight Ganon. Basically, there are just only 3 different dungeons left. There are the 2 last Triforce dungeons, and then, of course, the last one where we actually fight Ganon himself. Anyways, what do you guys think about my Let's Plays? Let me know in the comments below. I will be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern, except for today. I apologize again for that. Right here on youtube.com/Ryan Turford. Basically, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. That's Turford. You can also find me on other social media. You can also find me on a gaming podcast called Game Moose. It is a video game podcast that myself and Drew McMillan record every single week. You can find all the deets below. We're on iTunes and Facebook at facebook.com/GameMoosePodcast, and as well at www.talkmoose.com. We just did our 2016 predictions episode. It just came out this morning. So let me know what you think of that as well. Let me know there. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, share with your friends, all that good stuff. Anyways, that's going to do it for this Let's Play. So I'm Ryan Turford. Thanks again for watching my Let's Play right here on youtube.com/Ryan Turford.